Studio de Jefe, where I'm just going to have a quickie here for you about Jalen Tolbert, Cowboys wide receiver, third round pick from this year. And before I get to go watch college football, because it's football season. So, yes, Bryan Broaddus of 105.3 The Fan, one of my friends and one of the best in the business when it comes to covering the Cowboys and football in general, has floated the idea that it is very possible that Jalen Tolbert, Cowboys third round pick, may be inactive for this week. Not hurt, just inactive in terms of they'll carry 5 wide receivers. CeeDee Lamb is your number 1. Noah Brown will obviously play. Cavanaugh Turpin, who is your primary returner, will obviously play. And then maybe Simi Fehoko, 5th round pick from 2 years ago, and undrafted free agent Dennis Houston, maybe the other active wide receivers. I'll tell you what I think about that and why it's fun when really smart Cowboy people disagree about things sometimes. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to wager on all your favorite sports contests and events with first-to-market odds and lines. Are you betting on the Cowboys against Tampa Bay this week? Let me know. Think about it. I'm thinking about it. Find reviews and news for every league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, even golf. BetOnline. They're the top resource for all your sports information. If you like to do the live in-game betting, the props, the futures, head on over to BetOnline. Or use your mobile device. Join today. Make your first sports bet. Promo code BELIEVE50, BLEAV50, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online where the game starts. Hello, everybody. What's happening? Okay, so I also always make the mistake of assuming that like everybody's on Twitter because our profession, Twitter is the big social media because I can follow like a beat writer from each team and I can get every piece of content that I want like that on all my football things. So here's the thing with Jalen Tolbert, and I enjoyed that my friends Patrick Walker and KD Drummond were laying out for people like the idea that, hey, Michael Gallup barely contributed in his first couple weeks as a rookie, and like even if a third round pick isn't active in week 1, like that's not indicative of like his career and all that, which is 100% accurate. Vance in the super chat, Jeff, on behalf of all of us that love you and care about your mental health, please don't read Jason Garrett's thoughts on the game. I won't. Thanks. Does UT have a chance today? No, but I will go watch him. If Jalen Tolbert is inactive for week 1, I will be disappointed. The expectation for a guy who is drafted on the first 2 days of the draft, your first, your second, your third round picks, the expectation is that those people make the team, are active, and contribute. And the reason that the Cowboys, I think, deserve to get even more flack for it if it happens that way, like it's okay on your roster if a draft pick gets beat out by somebody picked after him or by somebody who's an undrafted free agent. Good for the guy that beat him out. Play the best player. So like you're not mad about who is active, but I would look at it as we all knew the Cowboys wide receiver room was not going to be impressive this year. When they got rid of Amari Cooper and the way that they decided to address that, I mean, you could say Amari Cooper and Cedric Wilson, really, right? Your number 1 wide receiver, your number 3, 4 wide receiver. I guess that would have been 4. And those guys are good players who are going to play elsewhere. The way that you addressed losing that was you signed James Washington, who, if you watched a lot of camp, James Washington wasn't going to help this football team. He was basically a league minimum guy. Cedric Wilson got $7 million a year in Miami. James Washington got $1 million to play for the Cowboys. That tells you what the league thinks of both those players. Amari Cooper makes $20 million. Their plan to replace Amari Cooper and Cedric Wilson was, James Washington might play maybe for a minute until Michael Gallup gets back, and we're going to use a third-round pick. If an undrafted free agent beats out a pick, that's cool. I got no problem with that. But if your wide receiver room is one guy who's ever done anything in the NFL to open up the season in CeeDee Lamb, and your top 100 pick is not going to contribute, then yeah, you're going to catch crap for that. You're going to catch flack for that because of the way that you addressed the wide receiver room. The expectation was going to be that Jalen Tolbert was a better player than Noah Brown, was a better player than Simi Fehoko, was a better player than an undrafted free agent. That's what he was supposed to be. Second and third round picks, that's what they do. They play. They suit up and they play. So it doesn't mean that Jalen Tolbert's going to be a bust. It doesn't mean that Jalen Tolbert isn't going to be a NFL starter by week 8. It doesn't mean anything long term. But just the initial report with Bryan Broaddus saying that Jalen Tolbert could be inactive this week, my initial reaction to that is, yeesh, that's disappointing. And then I saw my buddy Bobby Belt use the name Williams as a guy who could be inactive, and he's going to make me check the Cowboys roster. Am I not thinking of another Williams? Because if your second round pick is inactive too, the only way a second and third round pick should be inactive for an NFL team is if you have the best roster in the history of football, and the Cowboys don't. So your hope is that those sort of players are going to go out there and contribute right away. Now, if they don't and they both end up developing into great players, sweet. But no, my initial reaction will be disappointment. And I think that is totally valid. Kilgore contributing to the retirement fund. What's different about this game than last year? How are we going to win when we got worse overall? Well, they got worse too. Daniel in the super chat. Good morning, Jeff. I have the Longhorns for the win today. I hope they do. I hope everybody's college team wins today. All of you. What's different about this game from last year? The two guys that torched the Cowboys last year were Antonio Brown and Rob Gronkowski. They ain't on the team no more. The Tampa Bay Bucs got worse at center and left guard. Their offensive line isn't as good. Their quarterback is 100 years old. One day, Tom Brady's going to get old. I don't know the day, and I don't know the year. One day, he's going to get old. But yes, I think the Cowboys are worse on paper than they were a year ago. The Bucs are worse on paper than they were a year ago. And we watched Matt Stafford, who lost some guys on his offensive line. That would be Austin Corbett, Andrew Whitworth. He lost a couple of guys. And suddenly the Rams offensive line, yeesh. Matt Stafford was under siege. So the potential is there that Tom Brady will be under siege. Now, the potential is also there that Dak Prescott will be under siege. So you could win because they got worse too. That's the way it goes. Wow, Jalen Tolbert's a bust. No, he's not a bust yet. No, nobody's a bust. And he's not hurt. But Cavanaugh Turpin has to play. He's your return man. And then it's just a matter of if the Cowboys think that Simi, Fehoko, and Noah Brown, and then Turpin and Lamb, right? Yeah, if they think that Simi, Fehoko, and Dennis Houston are more ready to help their team win today than their third-round pick, then that's who should be active. And if that's the way it goes, then that's who should be active. The team isn't like making a mistake if they're playing the right players. But as an organization, they can tell you they're not. They would be disappointed that their third-round pick is not immediately ready to make a bigger contribution than a fifth-round pick from a year ago or an undrafted free agent from this year. Vance, if I may make a BetOnline suggestion, look for some reception props for both Dallas tight ends versus Tampa Bay. I tell you what. I don't know what Jake Ferguson's over-under is, but that's the other thing about the current Cowboys wide receiver room. With the current guys they've got out there, don't be surprised if the fourth-round pick gets a decent amount of action. If my wide receiver options, when I go 3 wide, means that 2 of Noah Brown, Cavanaugh Turpin, Dennis Houston, Simi Fehoko has to be out there, even a guy who hates running the football, and I kind of hate tight ends, Jake Ferguson's probably going to play a bunch. Jake Ferguson might have him 4 to 6 catches. That'll be good. I'm ready for tomorrow too, everybody. If Turpin is still TCU Turpin, I just start him in the slot and let him go. If they can get him going on offense and get him making some plays, that would be lovely. Any word on Curse? I have not heard anything other than the questionable from the neck. Until I hear something bad, my expectation is that he will play, and they'll only be missing Michael Gallup and then whoever is inactive. My football fancy has been officially tickled. I like that from Just Blaze. Hello to everybody on Twitch and Facebook and all the things. Cowboys DE room is strong. Plus, you had Barr and Parsons. That is the reason why Sam would be inactive. And look, that's okay. I'm telling you, like, if you think you have enough dudes that player is not going to be able to help your football team in week 1, then the right move is that should be one of your inactives. But the idea that a team like Dallas, whose roster is not stacked top to bottom, could have their second and third round pick not play in week 1, that's a disappointment. Okay? All right. Dang, you came here to hate. You coming here and posting is boosting his analytics. Yeah, oh yeah, if you're here to hate, I don't mind. Y'all can come in hating. This wide receiver group is bad. Doesn't mean people mean to panic, but it's bad. Basically, yeah. If you have a wide receiver room that's not very good and you drafted a wide receiver in the third round and he's not going to be active, you're going to be disappointed for a second. You'll be disappointed for a hot second. Do the Cowboys think Basham is over Williams? If they do, that will be a disappointment. If a journeyman defensive backup defensive end is more ready to make an impact and a positive contribution on your football team than a second round pick, that's a disappointment. Sky Moore ain't inactive. See, Sky Moore ain't inactive. They're just overvaluing their guy. Well, the guys I drafted are their guys. All right, that's it. I got to go watch college football and I got to shower. If you guys are way into my hair, I call this current mop of hair. I just finished sculpt class, which is hard as hell. It hurts. But that's how I make it so that I can go eat some chicken nuggies and not feel guilty about it. All right, teams. Have a good day. I love you. Remember, you have no idea what anybody's going through. Be cool to everyone.